Sneak peek going on there, guys. As you can see, that is the ETS twin scroll turbo setup now on the final edition Evo here. We are making a video, or already made a video of installing this completely. It's just going to go through editing. You'll see that very soon. We also did the Grimsby 3-port boost controller. In the install video for this turbo kit, I show you how to hook that thing up to the twin scroll wastegates, but I also made a side video of how to hook this up if you have a stock setup, which most likely you're still utilizing those same points, so that should clear everything up. But in the meantime, before we go get this tuned, we also need to install some gauges, boost gauge today, and a wideband with the O2 sensors. And we also just got our Ortiz Gauge Pod cluster in. Also a flex fuel kit getting put in shortly after this, so stay tuned for that. But let's go ahead and flip the script here and check out our product. All right, man, that is it, man. This is the Ortiz Gauge Pod cluster. We've been waiting, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 weeks for this thing, something like that. But as you can see, this thing is molded right in here with these. They do cut little cubby holes in the back so we can shimmy that through, but this thing fits like OEM because it is OEM, and this actual bezel is an OEM one that they mold these into, sand them down, repaint them. Really great product. Mind you, when you get them, they are fragile. There's a warning when you get it because this is handmade, so be careful with that. To add to this though, especially I do suggest this because these things are just so small and they don't have a backing or whatever. I do suggest getting the smallest gauges possible. These are the X series gauges, which it's just this. There's no backing to it. When you pull it out, you'll see there's no backing, just a little plug that goes in there. These are nice and sleek and the easiest, I think, to plug into those. In the past, I've had the other ones that have the big block on the back side of them instead of just being this little flat front, and they were a little more difficult to get in there. I actually had to modify that back hole a little more to even fit them. So do whatever you want with gauges, but that's our setup right there. I'll show you how to put the wideband in and everything, the sensor into the exhaust, and show you exactly how to take this dash apart and wire everything up. So let's go ahead and get straight into the car and start ripping this thing apart. All right, perfect, man. So now in the car, first thing we're gonna do is take this dash apart so we can get that bezel out, as well as access all the hookups so we can actually put the power sources onto these gauges. So first thing you're gonna do is just drop this down. You do have this little shock over here you may have seen in previous videos. You just pop this thing off and then you'll be able to squeeze in these sides, dropping this down like this. You gotta go all the way down and then it pops right out just like that. Nice and simple, okay? And this was that little shock that goes in and out. This helps it to where it doesn't drop and it brings it down nice and simple, right? Also, next thing you're gonna have is this little panel right here. There's gonna be a little Phillips screwdriver, a little Phillips screw right here. You're just gonna go ahead and take that out, and you'll be able to grab this panel and you'll be able to pull it out just like that. It has little white clips in the back holding it in besides this Phillips, and that is that for that portion. Then you have another Phillips now being exposed right here. I'm gonna go ahead and screw that off. Now after you take that off, that is the only thing holding this entire strip in. As far as screws go. Now it will have a bunch of these little white clips just like this going along this backside. So this is a plastic, so you don't want to necessarily pull it on one side because you could crack it down the line. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to grab it and start in the corner. And as soon as you can get it up a little bit, you're going to try to move your hand down evenly and pull it as elongated as possible. All right, so it starts to go, and as you can see, I'm trying to get my fingers down here. Pop these portions out a little more evenly, like that, all the way down, and just like that. And as you can see, a bunch of the white clips matching all the way down there. Some of those could have got stuck in there. Try to get those back out if you can, and just put them right back on, but that is that, so we'll set this to the side. And next thing we're gonna have is these little marks right here. So this is just gonna be 3 Phillips screwdrivers, 3 Phillips screws holding this little hazard piece in. And this thing is held in by just some plastic clips, so you'll be able to pull it just like that, and it pops out. And there's one plug obviously back here and holding this in. All right, now this next part, same deal where it has these little white clips holding this thing in all the way down. This whole dash piece now is gonna come out so we can get this portion out over here. Okay, so what you're gonna do is grabbing from the bottom, and again, this is all plastic, so you don't wanna grab it on one spot and just start pulling it because you might crack it somewhere along the line. So try to pull it even as possible. I'm gonna start on the bottom here, getting these little plastic clips on here, and then I'll be able to grab the whole structure and get this thing out. Bam. And as you can see, plastic clips holding into the top of the dash here, and then all little white clips holding to the bottom. Some of those are still held in there, so I'll grab little pliers and try to get those out nice and even and just apply those right back on there before I put this back in the install here, but that is that. Now the reason you do that is because now this exposes so this portion can come out. Before that was over this, so you could never have pulled out the tachometer little bezel here. So now I'm going to jump over, switch cameras, and we're going to take off the other vent the other side, and we'll be able to get that whole unit out. All right, so now with this side exposed over here so we can get the bezel out, you got to get this side so we can do that. So first thing I'm going to do is take down this little kick panel here for the feet. Now not only are we going to be taking this off so we can actually get to the fuse box so we can actually ground out and get a power connection for the gauges, but also this is going to take it to where we can get this little dash piece out here and then the vent, and that will expose it to where we can take the rest off. So two Phillips right down the bottom. All right, just like that, and then you just grab this, and this just has little plastic clips holding it in. Able to pull it down evenly, grabbing the inside, pull it down just like that. A couple little clips on the back here, just pull those out. Bam, just like that. And then you have your little plastic panel here, just like the plastic panel we pulled over there. This is not being held in by a screw, but just plastic white clips in the back. So go ahead and grab this, evenly pull that out, and as I said, just plastic, and that's how that comes out. Okay, so I'll set that to the side, and now exposing the vent. This is the vent's the last little piece that's actually holding in this little cluster for us. So I'm going to grab this, plastic clips again, start from the bottom, pop it up in a couple spots. Oh, and it came out as a groove, but it shouldn't be able to pop right out. I'll fix that in 2 seconds. Bam, and there we are, man. Now we're all exposed. I do see right now there's a little button for the info button right here, which I'll disconnect in a second. But all you're going to be doing is the same deal. This is now being held in, this whole little cluster right here, just by some white plastic clips in the back. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that and just pull that nice and even, and then we'll be able to pull this whole thing out. Go ahead and drop the steering wheel as low as possible as I do that. And we'll get over to the desk and give a comparison before we install everything. All right, perfect. So now over here on the desk, this is the old one right here, okay? So a little close up here. All you're gonna be doing is taking this info button out. As you can see, again, I've already explained, this is the OEM one that they've just modified to fit this. So the only thing misses is that little info button. So just on the back side, there's a little clip here and there's a little clip on the other side, okay? So on the top and the bottom, I'm just gonna get some type of little flat pick right here, and you're just gonna put it in there and just pop it up just that little bit, and you should be able to slide this whole little unit out and then just clip it right back into the next one. Okay, great. So we are going to run these gauges through first, and then we'll actually put in this pod cluster. So first things first is we'll do the boost gauge through one route, and then we'll do actually the wideband through a different route through the firewall. So you get to see two different areas that you can run these wires through today with no matter what kind of gauge you're hooking up. So today, boost gauge first. This is what's going to come within this kit. You're going to get the harness obviously right here. This harness does just plug right into the back right here, nice and simple, and then you'll run this down. Now here are all your power sources, which we'll go over in a little bit here, that you're gonna be connecting into the fuse box location area, and then you're gonna have your plug here. Now mind you, this is unraveled, it goes, I don't know, 10 feet or whatever, and this plug right here, with it extended, will plug into your sensor. Sensor just like that, clips right in like that. I'm gonna put maybe a little baby piece of Teflon just for any leakage there, and then you'll connect this, and that way you can get your vacuum hose connected to that. So after you successfully screw that in like that, it does have a provided one. I have some silicone hoses that I'm going to be using, but you just put that over there and then run this down to your boost source and tee it off. It does come with a little provided tee, despite I'm going to be using a different one today, and then we'll hook those up. So I'll show you how to hook up your boost connection with that in a second, the power source, and then we'll actually mount this thing up very, very last. So let's go ahead and jump in the car, run this one, and then we'll go over how to run the wideband. All right, great. So now to run the boost line first, okay? So from this fuse box right here, where we're gonna be connecting and then running it up into here. This is right by the driver's 5-foot rest here where the gas opening is. You're just gonna take this and you'll be able to pull this panel right up. Now this is just being held in by plastic clips, so you might have to fight it a little bit, but that is how it is. There's some little weird plastic clips that are kind of held in, and this thing just pops right up just like you saw. Next thing we're going to do is this just has, right back here where I'm reaching, you'll see there's like a little plastic type of screw here. I don't even know what the heck this is even supposed to do because it barely works. You could actually just pull on this, it pulls out. But that's what it looks like right there. This little plastic screw way up there near the foot. And then you're able to take this portion and pull this out just like the last. Bam, just like that. And again, this has little white clips that slide into there, and this is how this pulls out. Now the reason we're exposing this right here is because right here, as you can see down here, there's a little plastic, or I'm sorry, a little rubber cap. Now if you grab this with your hands, you're able to pull this out. Just like that, okay? So what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be running my line down through that hole, which is kind of near the side skirt here, and it comes up right where the fender is in the opening. So I'm gonna take out some of the panels right here near the footwell, and near the wheel well, and that way I can actually grab it and pull it through, and then I'm gonna run it up and then into the engine bay. So you'll see me do that right now, but this is the exact hole that you wanna go through. All right, so first things first is I'm gonna try to get this wire where I need it to be, so I'm just gonna kind of go up onto the back side over here and shimmy this up to where I want it. And that way I know how much slack I have when I go through that area. So it's gonna be mounting up here. Again, if you can't see that, this is just, I'm gonna give myself maybe 3 or 4 inches right where the gauge will be sitting. Your other piece is gonna be, it's gonna split off, and this is gonna be your power sources. Just put those to the side. And now I know this is exactly where I need to be. So what I'll do is I'll throw a zip tie probably like right there just to hold this in its spot, and that way it doesn't fall down like it just did, and my slack won't get pulled out when I shimmy this thing through. Then I'll take obviously the extra source here, and just like that hole you just saw me, I'll take this and I'll go through with it. Now there is a couple different ways you can do this. If you do have some type of little like flex line or something, like some type of snake, you can connect that with some zip ties, and then you can shimmy it through there and then grab it through the other side. You might be able to stick it through and just push all the slack in there, and then also grab it through the other side. You'll see in a second there's just another hole like the other one that we have over here, and you have to be able to grab it through there. You might be able to grab pliers, grab it through there and pull it as well. But as soon as you get that accomplished, it's nice and sleek and hidden, and then you put all the panels back and it's, you know, it's not even there. So that's how I'm gonna do it today. All right, just to show you a better visual, this is the plug right here. As you can see, I can pull on that because I just tied it right to that little section right there. We'll drop down. I have my extra, this is all my power sources, and again, I can pull on this if I need to. I'll show you how to connect that into the fuses in 1 second, and then I have my other cord ran right down there and right through there. We'll jump onto the other side, and I'll go ahead and open up this little area right here. All right, perfect. So I hope you guys can see right here. I just pulled off all those through right there, and this is the little rubber cap I'm talking about. So I can reach my hand in there, just like the inside. All right, bam, and there it is, man. So this is what the plug looks like. It just plugs that up. Now you are able to cut like a little slit in the side of this if you'd like to, just like the inside one, if you want to be able to squeeze the wire, because if you cut that, and after the wire's through, you'll be able to slide that wire in, and it'll kind of pinch it in there, and that way you can still kind of keep the OEM sealness to the inside and outside of that. All right, so that was a huge pain in the butt, but I just shimmied it all the way through, and all I did was I just grabbed a little pick like this, which actually has a little bend to it, and I was able just to hook it, and then after I hooked it, I grabbed it with the pliers right here. You can shimmy something through if you'd like to, and like tie it to it and shimmy it through like a stick or something like that. It's just at a really weird angle, so what I did was just pushed it all the way through until I could see it bunched up here, and then just hooked it with this thing and grabbed it with some pliers. All right, so you're just gonna plug this right into the sensor there. I did add a little Teflon onto this piece. Now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna mount this right against this little metal bracket right here, okay? This seems to be the best. I'll do the inside and run vacuum hose here up through there into the engine bay like I've already said. Now to prevent this from getting any damage, this is an actual sensor. I'm gonna go ahead, since it will be on metal, I'm just gonna wrap it with this, kind of giving it like a little cushion to it. And that way, hopefully it's not taking as much of a absorption as just metal on metal. All right, and just like that, and if you push it, it's nice and cushy now, so it'll absorb some of that. I'm gonna go up through here and just zip tie this up, and I'll get this zip tied in 2 different spots so we don't have any foliage on this thing. All right, now go ahead and clip these off, and that thing is nice and secure in its place. Now the side that's on the sensor portion, the actual like plastic sensor, I barely have on there, and the part that's on the metal barb on the other side, I got a little bit tighter because it's gonna be able to take some of that better. Now go ahead and just clip this off, connect your vacuum line, throw a zip tie over that vacuum line to make sure it never bursts off as you're driving, and we'll go ahead and get up top with this vacuum line and connect it to the boost source. All right, and as you can see, that is how it's connected, man. So it's running through there. Again, I add the plastic cap or the rubber cap back in a second over to this little piece. Lightly on the sensor side and on the metal side, you can actually, it's a little groove in between the connections there, and you'll be able to zip tie that a little bit harder to hold it in its spot. And then connect your vacuum line, running your vacuum line right up, and we're gonna meet you up top. All right, man, so now that is all clipped up back together over here. I have the line just running up through the fender right here, and then coming around the fender, you can see it pops out right here, comes up along here. I just tucked it on this little archway right here, and then it connects right there again. So I just ran along this line to make sure it doesn't go into the fan, put a zip tie there, put a zip tie around that corner right there, and then I shot it straight over to right here. As you can see, I just have it laying over where the blow-off valve is. So if you have a stock setup right now from that intake manifold spot right there, you'll have that going to that metal line over there, and then that metal line on the other side, it will get another vacuum hose and it would go over to the stock blow-off valve. We don't have that. Obviously, we have this different ETS setup right now. So I went ahead and just got rid of that line. I'm just running it straight from the blow-off valve to there instead of running the blow-off valve to there and then the metal line and then to that one. So all you do though is you're just gonna cut this thing right here. You're gonna put your T vacuum here, and then you're gonna connect this. That will give you vacuum, and it'll give you boost levels, and that's how you do it. So let's set it down and let's get it happening. Bro, and that is it, man. As you see, as I explained, this runs under here, zip tied so it doesn't get caught in anything. T vacuumed off right in between that intake manifold and the blow-off valve. And I explained obviously if you have a stock one how you're gonna set that up, but that is it, man. So now I'll go ahead and I'll jump over and I'll grab all my wideband stuff over here, and I'll hook up the wideband and show you how to route that thing through and connect the sensor onto the test pipe today or down pipe, and then we'll go ahead and connect all our power sources and get this thing lit. All right, so boost gauge hooked up, all the wires here to wire in a second. Now to the wideband though, you're gonna have two different clusters that come with this for wires with two different plugs. The first plug right here is gonna have all your loose wires just like this one over here, and we're gonna be connecting these to power source and ground in a little bit to get those connected power-wise. And then you have a second one that's the extra long one here, that's gonna be the plug that's gonna go into the O2 sensor, and then the plug that goes into the back of the actual gauge. So go ahead and put this exactly where the gauge is going to be, as well as you could do the other one, mind you. You can do the second plug, that's gonna be the power source. You can zip tie those right there together and then bring those up right to where the gauge will be sitting, do a zip tie just like we did the boost gauge, and that way, if you pull on it through the back side, you won't get any of that slack pulled back down and it'll still be in the same spot. But let's go ahead and put our power one aside for right this second, because we're gonna talk about running this one first. This one's along the plug one that goes all the way down in and hooks up to the actual physical O2 sensor that goes on the exhaust. Now to get to that, it's very simple. We're gonna be running this a different route. First thing you're gonna do is right here, there's going to be a Phillips screw, okay? So you're gonna take that Phillips screw out of there, and then now this right here behind this panel, you're gonna do the same thing to the other side, and then there'll be like a little hallway here that shoots from behind this to the other side, and you're just gonna be bringing that through there. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop this off, start shimming it through. Now mind you, if you do want to get this thing nice and easy, you could always zip tie it to some type of like little pole or something, or a long screwdriver, and stick it through that little passage. You might be able to also just push it through and shimmy it through, but do what you want. All right, so up over there, as you can see, those are the two wires that I showed you guys earlier. I now took those and just wired them up through this area right here and zip tied them where I needed, just like we did the boost controller. And this is gonna be all the extra slack with the plug that goes to the O2 sensor that came out this little cubby over here. You did take your Phillips already off and you pulled this little section out. Now I'm just gonna push that back for now and move this out the way, because what we're gonna do is take up this carpet. And now, this is your main carpet on the bottom, which has a little foam piece over here, okay? So with this pulled out, you're gonna be able to, one second, hold on. Scoot you guys over. You're gonna be able to grab this carpet on the very back and you're gonna be able to pull it out, okay? So as you can see I'm pulling this out right now, just like that. Getting it out from under this. All right. And now this weird carpet crap is out of the way, and you still have your foam here. So I'm just gonna pull back my foam, and when we pull back the foam over here, I'll get a better camera view, but you're gonna have another little rubber grommet, and that rubber grommet currently has an O2 sensor that goes through it. So what we're gonna do is run this new cord over here through that same exact hole. We're gonna make a little slit in the side and then slide it through the rubber. And then we'll be able to run it down into the new O2 sensor. Now, mind you, after I run it through there and I have all this extra slack, I'll be taking that and zip tying it up here in this section somewhere, and that way I don't have a bunch under the car hanging there. But just a little bit of advice, so I'm gonna reach in there now and pull this back and get the little rubber grommet out the way. And I'll just push this sensor, just the sensor, right through that hole. I will make a little slit, like I said, in a moment, after I connect this and see how much slack I need to tie up. So just put maybe 6-8 inches through there really quick. You can lay that right back down. Now we're gonna jack the car up, getting under the bottom, connect the O2 sensor to that plug, and put the new O2 sensor in. And then again, bundle this all up. We'll put all this stuff back together, and then we'll show the power sources and finish up the gauge pod cluster on the top. All right, beautiful. So now we are under the car. As you can see, this is the plug, man. It comes out right here. So right where my hand is pointing, that's where the grommet was right there, the little rubber grommet, and it came right out. All right, so again, we're gonna patch that up in a second here. But now is to grab the sensor, because this is gonna be connecting right here to the test pipe. Now this is the stock downstream one, and you have an upstream one that's right above here, the stock ones. Lots of times on downpipes, it will come with a second bung. Maybe there was an availability to get this welded onto the downpipe, because on the downpipe you have your best source there, but unfortunately we do not have it on the downpipe, so we're using the test pipe's second location. This is going to be an 8mm right here that takes this piece out. So this is the ETS test pipe, so 8mm popping this piece out. All right, so now grab your new O2 sensor right here with plug. They do have it all protected up here so you don't get all nasty, and they also have like a little bit of that grease stuff you put in there, the little anti-seize already installed on it. So lots of times I say twist it left, and that way when you twist it all the way right and tighten it, it doesn't bunch up this line, but we're not connecting it yet, so you can just twist it in just like normal. All right, and with that hand tight all the way down, we will take our O2 sensor remover, and again, these are super cheap. This actually is made for this. It just slides right over the O2 sensor. You're able to put a normal style wrench on there, and we'll give a couple little quarter cranks to this. And it's all the way tight, and just give it a little bump there, and we are good to go with that section. Okay, great. So now that's all connected. Go ahead and take your plug, and you're going to plug this right in. Now, I did not realize how long this plug was when I ran it through the little rubber piece down here. So I'm actually going to run this back up in there, and I think I'll be able to get the sensor where the floorboard is and then zip it, tie up it in there, which would probably be better anyways, and that way keeping it away from the weather. So I'm going to get back in the engine bay now that that is, or in the inside the cabin rather, now that this is completely tight. We'll pull it back through. I might end up coming back down here and zip tying something down here, and hopefully I can get that whole sensor in the inside to protect it from weather. Super awesome. This actually comes all the way through, so this does not have to set out in the weather now. So the plug comes all the way up, and then you can actually bring it up to the corner over here, and you're just going to zip tie it up to here somewhere, okay? Get all your extra slack, zip tie it in there somewhere, and then you can get this all clipped back and put your Phillips screw back in there, and then you can lay down your carpet again. Like I've mentioned earlier, on the other side, you can take this and just do a little razor cut to the slice here, and just that way you can put that wire through that, and it'll sit in the center, and then you can plug that back up just like normal, so you won't get any anything coming through there. So let's do it. Okay, so now jumping in the car, we are going to now put in the Ortiz Gauge Pod cluster here and hook up the gauges and everything, and then we'll connect finally the power source. We've already done all this, as you saw, put the carpet back down and everything. Over here, we pretty much did the same thing. I did go down here and cut my little hole for the wire and put that plug back in, and then put my Phillips back over here where I needed to. All right, so jumping up, all you're gonna be doing is we're just gonna put this right back in. Remember, this is OEM, so it has all the clips there. All the little plastic clips right there, they're black, mind you, they're painted right now, but all those are new provided ones on here, so you don't need to swap them over or anything. So let me go ahead and set you guys down, and we will put this bad boy in. right, and there it is, man. Again, be very careful because this thing is custom, but we got our wires poking through. So now we'll go ahead and plug those gauges in, or bring those in, and I'll show you how to actually adapt these, because again, like normal gauges, this doesn't have a border around the edge to hold it in its place. So there's two different ways that I personally know of and have used already, so let's get it. All right, man, and here are the actual gauges. As you can see, these are little skinny, tiny little things. There's no backing like some of the other ones. There are two different methods, as I mentioned earlier, that you can do to put these in the cluster. These pods don't have the edge to it, so you can't use the thing that comes with it that like ties it to the back, which I showed at the beginning. Because you can't do that. If you have the longer ones in the back, it's much easier. You end up getting, you can either sand this down if it doesn't work right at the gate, you know, or it might just fit in there anyways. You basically just take electric tape and just tie maybe a layer or two around here, which is like very sticky, and it'll close the gap. And mind you, don't put the sticky side on the outside. And then you will put it in there and just wiggle it in very carefully, because this is, again, handmade. And then it will stay in just like that. I did that with my old autometer gauges that had the bigger backside, because that's what worked for me. Since these are so light and so tiny, though, I do a different method, okay? I did this with my personal car, and now on this one. I just get some type of crazy glue. I do use this rapid fuse crazy glue, all right? All I'm doing is putting 3 dots on it, in between, one here, and one there, right? So with those 3 little dots, I put it on there, hold it for 30 seconds, it stays on there. The good part about doing this is it's gonna hold it very secure and nice, no problem. But if you ever need to take it off, you're not gonna break this entire, you know, again, custom molded thing off, trying to get it off. With just those 3 dots, you can literally take a razor blade and just razor on the edge right where those spots are, and it should break it. Again, just put a baby little dot. You do not need that much, and it should hold it in place with all the vibrations and anything that you're going to throw its way, besides a razor blade taking it off. So let's get it. Alright, now jumping down below, I just want to show you where we're going to be connecting to, okay? And then I'll go over the actual wires. So on this little box down here, if you look at your little panel, this is going to be number 13 we're going to be tapping into. 13 is going to be the 15 fuse here, the third up from the bottom on all the way on the outside. So third up, right friggin' there, alright? So number 13 is where we're going to be doing. So there are a different couple of options that you can do to tap into this. There's 3 ways. There's 2 pretty clean ways, and then there's a getaway. The first way you can do is you can actually get this plug and play adapter. So if you look at this little diagram right here, this shows the fuse box, and there's actually a blank plug. So it's just, you get an accessory plug from, I think it's called Chicago Spec or something like that. I'm gonna have the link in the bottom so you guys can actually buy it if you want. It's like a $30 plug. It will just plug in there just like OEM and actually get consistent power source all day, and you can wire whatever you want into that. So there's that piece. There's also, what we're doing today is you buy these little things. I also have a link in the bottom. Basically all you do is pull the fuse out and you put it in the side of it, and then you stick that portion right there in where the fuse was, and then you can go ahead and tap into this wire any way you want. That's how we're going to do it today. Third way would be taking the wires, splicing them on the end, twisting them up, and then trying to pretty much just shove them in there, and then put the original fuse right back over it, which does work. It's just super ghetto, but do what you want, and let's get it. All right, so now we are down here to connect these up. As you can see, I already took the liberty of taping these up. I just took all of the extra colors, because you'll notice there's a bunch of different colors in here. These are for, I think one of them is for dimming, and the rest are for connecting to the AM Infinity. These gauges do work with that standalone system, so you can plug those in, but so we're not going to use those, so just tape them up with some electric tape to get them out the way. And we just have the red, which we're going to obviously be connecting to our little spliced up section over here now, and plugging that back in. And then we have our black ones, which are going to be the ground. For the ground, I'm just going to connect it to this bolt right here. There's this little 12mm bolt. I'm just going to back it up just a little bit, take the black ones, shove it behind the washer, and then I'm going to clamp it back down, and that'll give me a perfect ground. And then we will go ahead and slap these panels back on, and we will test the gauge out.
What we do here is go back.
All right, so now before we put all our panels back across this in here and all the near the kick panel here, we're gonna go ahead and just make sure we got power sources. All right, I'm in. But let's go ahead and start it up. Looking phenomenal, man. That is the Ortiz Gauge Pod cluster installed in the Evo 10 now. Boost gauge and wideband all hooked up. Power sourced, ran through, everything is hidden. That is how you guys do it, man. So no matter if you do a different gauge cluster or this one, that is how you plug and play those things, man. Any further questions you guys have, please, as always, comment in the section below. I'll answer them as soon as possible. Besides that, subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. And do stay tuned, man, because we are going down for tuning this week for this car. We just did that big turbo kit. That video is getting released probably next, if not that video after that. And then we'll be fully doing a video on the dyno tuning of this down at AG Autosports, where, mind you, if you haven't seen my car, mine did 545 on the completely stock motor with a very, very similar setup with side monitor instead. This is the ETS twin scroll top mount with the same turbo setup, and I'm very curious to see what it does in the stock motor. They'll be building it obviously in the future, but stay tuned for that, man. So thank you guys so much. We'll see you in the next video.